Hi, my name is Jae Stephens. I am a singer, songwriter, producer, Dallas born, LA raised, and I'm really excited to be releasing my debut album later in the year.
Of course, like with the first question, of course, going into your newest single, Attaboy, I actually listened to the song and it gave a very like early 2000s vibe to me. And I was wondering if maybe that was the kind of vibe you were going for, or maybe you want to discuss the process of the single.
Yeah, I'm never really going for anything specific in particular. I try not to be too referential just because I think that can be very limiting when it comes to creation. Attaboy in particular, I think came from a very frustrated place. It was at a point in the album process where like I needed more songs and they just were not coming. And yeah, I wanted something that was gonna kind of sound like kicking the door in and waking me up, and that's exactly how that song starts. It's very noisy, it's very pots and pans, and I knew that the lyrics kind of had to match that bravado and that just like real dominating feel to it. And so it was a lot of fun writing from that place because I do think that's a lot of where the album is at. It feels experimental, it feels like a wake up call, it feels very feminine and powerful in that way. So yeah, I'm glad that like people are enjoying it. Thank you for listening.
Of course, yeah. And of course, talking about like I guess your uprising with music and stuff, like how are you, I guess like what was your first maybe approach to music? Like was it, something you discovered in childhood or was it just I guess something you discovered later on in life?
My mother says I was singing before I could talk. So I've just always been singing, and then singing led to writing, and then writing music led to like learning to play guitar, learning to produce on my computer so that I could make my own songs, and because I was tired of the songs that my mom was asking me to cover, stuff like that. So yeah, it's just been one of those things that I've just always done. Always kind of known how to do. I think as a child, I definitely gravitated towards things that I was good at the first time and would quit anything else. So music was just that thing that I always stuck to. And yeah, I don't even really know when it became a career, quote unquote, because it just was such a natural transition to go from like writing songs every day to like, oh, now like send this song to someone else to sing, And stepping into that artist role in the beginning was a bit like I didn't think about it as much as I should have because it's always just been a part of who I am. I do feel like now, especially with Sellout and with this album and with signing, I've made like a real intentional switch to make an effort and like not just have it be like something I do every day, but like a real conscious part of who I am and what I do. And I'm, really enjoying seeing the results of that and people gravitating towards it.
And is there maybe like a story you want to tell through your music?
I'm not really like a big this is my journal, this is my diary, I have to write from the heart. I've never been that way. But I do find that like in hindsight, often when I go back and I look at this song that I released like a year ago, I'm like, you were going through something. Like that was real as fuck. That was so true. Like that was very valid. And yeah, that's kind of just been like a pattern that I've definitely noticed, especially with Sellout. And with my album, I tried to lean into it a bit more. Not so much that I was boxed into like everything being a specific story and concept that's real to me, but just to like speak from the heart, be transparent, be conversational with my writing. And yeah, and I think as a result of that, the story that comes through is really just my point of view, my outlook on life and on relationships, and my narrative is the story. And so I'm glad that people are like responding well to it because I think it can get a bit out of pocket sometimes.
And How do you approach, when it comes to, I guess, like visuals for your music? Like, do you have also maybe, you don't have to talk about it, but maybe a music video coming up for Attaboy or maybe other music videos you want to talk about?
Yeah, my approach to like the visual side of things has been like a much more of a learning curve to the music, which like I said, writing a song is second nature to me. Visually, that's been something fun to figure out what do I want to look like and what is the story I want to tell that way and how do I tell it. With the new music, it's been a lot easier because there's so much more intention behind the creation of the song, and I think it lends itself well to expanding the world visually. It just happens a lot more naturally. And yeah, there's been such intention from the beginning with this entire album that it's made the visual side of things fun, and I think going into it with a outlook of creating a character and creating a fictional world and a fictional town, and this girl goes here and that's when she sings this song, mapping it out like literal cosplay has made the whole thing so much more fun and allowed me to get deeper into it. The Attaboy video in particular definitely takes place in like a part of this seedy world that we're opening up in the course of the album. And it introduces this kind of dominating character who's like an alley cat, and she's very push and pull with her affection and her attention. Will she, won't she, maybe she will, maybe she won't. And yeah, it felt like a preview in a lot of ways, just like a bit of a warm up to prepare people for the everything that's about to come.
And whenever you are creating music, what's the type of mindset you go into? Like, what makes you lock in? Like, I guess just like, what is the process?
My process is literally just like do whatever. Do whatever, have a good time. I've been writing for so long, especially for so many other people, that I know that if it's ever too hard, it's probably not good. If it's ever forced, if it feels unnatural, if it feels like it's just not clicking, it probably isn't right, and that's become more true than ever. In my own process for writing my own music, things that roll off the tongue, first instinct, first come to mind to sing, to say, to do, those are usually the right choices, and those are the things that I gravitate towards and that I have the most fun writing and making. There's still challenges, of course, but it always feels like something worth the work and the effort. So, yeah, for me, it always starts with like just a melody. I'm very melody driven. Before I even touch a lyric, I probably know how the entire song sounds melodically. Um, and yeah, because it's always got to be fun to sing. I want it to be catchy and things that people can latch on to. And then from there, I might be influenced by something happening that'll influence the lyrics and the concepts and things like that. So it does vary from song to song, but that's typically my story.
And when you are dealing with challenges while creating music, how do you overcome them?
Quit. Like, literally walk away. Like, go outside, take a break, do something else, and then come back. And by the time you come back, you're either gonna know if you need like a fresh perspective or if you just need like a new perspective altogether. I think that there's literally nothing wrong with being like, okay, girl, let's go get a smoothie. Like, like, like let's wrap this up. Because by the time you come back, you just have like you gotta zoom out sometimes. And for me, especially as like a really emotional cancer, I'm just one of those people who really has to zoom out. Like I gotta cry, I gotta have my breakdown, I gotta freak out, I gotta go crazy. And then once I get that out of my system and I come back, I'm like, oh, I know what to do. And that is typically my approach to writing music if I'm ever stuck, just maybe on a smaller scale.
I don't know if this is off topic, but I know also that on I think it's called, yes, you have like a podcast, like you talk to other artists, of course. And I was wondering like, how was that first approach to, interviewing other people as well, other artists, and like I guess having your own podcast and show.
I mean, initially it was very scary because that's not my bread and butter. But I think you can tell over the course of the episodes that I slowly got like a bit more comfortable with it, and ease into it, relax into it. Because at the end of the day, it really is just me talking to my peers, talking to people that I really respect and admire, but we're just all in the same boat. Especially with the premise of the podcast is me speaking to other Black artists who are maybe a minority in their field. You know, I'm talking to Black rock, alt, indie, pop, you know, electronic, country artists, you know, people who are really trying something new, something different, and just asking about their experience, and hopefully like they can offer something for the listener, any, you know, young Black artist who wants to follow in on that in their footsteps. And yeah, when I remember that it's just a conversation with somebody who's just grinding like I am, that helped me ease into it a bit more, especially because I think that they're genuinely all such great artists with very important and necessary journeys and stories to tell.
And is there maybe like, I guess, that type of impact you want to leave when it comes to your music?
Yeah, I mean, I really, like I said, you know, I think that my perspective and my point of view is one that can be a bit brash, but is always honest and very unapologetically uh, just self-focused, and prioritizes my own happiness and my own needs and urgencies. And I think that's something that I really want to put forth for the listeners, and just anybody that comes across my music. I want them to latch on to that kind of self importance. It doesn't always have to be a negative thing. I think it's important to always know what you want and leave if you're not getting it, and you know, to always like try. I think that was also like a big message across Sellout, was like, you know, to really put yourself out there and be unafraid to be that person who, you know, steps into a new lane and puts forth that effort. And even if you have to do it with a wink and a smile, maybe crack a joke to ease yourself into it a little bit, like if you set forth that intention, that was kind of the Sellout mantra, is like, if you're gonna do it, just like go full speed ahead with the confidence, however you got to do it to make it happen. And yeah, I think I hope that that's like a life lesson, I guess, of sorts, but also just to like Black girls in general, to like never box themselves, never shrink themselves, whether that's in life or whether that's in music. You know, don't let anybody tell you you can't make this, or you can't look like this, or you can't be classified as this. I just want to encourage that kind of open dialogue, to see more of our faces in these places of confidence and power.
And speaking of sellout, what was the process behind that project, if you want to get into it?
Yeah, Sellout was a lot different from this album, which, like I said, the album was very, you know, kind of focused from the beginning. What do I have to say? How am I going to say it? Sellout was me really figuring it out as I went along. I think you can hear that from disc one to disc two to eventually total Sellout. I'm kind of finding my sound, and I'm finding the look visually, kind of grew from video to video with what I was comfortable with, and how I wanted to dress and what I wanted to say. And yeah, it was fun figuring it out, but it was also a bit like, it was like a push and pull of like, do I have it? Do I not? There were some growing pains here and there, but I think it was like a really nice journey. And I think it was the journey of the Sellout. You know, like I said, I did approach it a bit tongue in cheek, a bit wink and a smile, because I had to acknowledge that as I was kind of moving into this space of attempting these big records, and I want to make, you know, pop music, and I'm signed to this major, and you know, I'm really going to put myself out there, that came with like a bit of fear, a bit of imposter syndrome. And yeah, I think I was really finding my footing across those records, and I'm really proud of where it ended up. I think you can hear that I really caught my stride like halfway through Sellout 2.
And of course, speaking about your newest record again, when it comes to Attaboy, is there some things people don't know about it? Maybe any changes or something people really don't know about the record? Yeah.
I mean, Attaboy was fun to write just because, like I said, it came from towards the end of the album making process where I wanted it to be the end, and I was realizing that it wasn't the end because I still needed some more songs and I just wanted to be done, and I was far from done. And yeah, Attaboy was made on a day where we were just like, let's just make a bunch of choruses. Let's just make a bunch of fun choruses, and if we love it, then we'll finish the song, and if we hate it, then we'll just like move on and make another chorus, which I don't usually do that. Like I like to make full songs. But yeah, that was like a bit of an experimental kind of process for me that day, and I really appreciated what came out of trying something new. There's two other songs on my album as well as the next single after Attaboy that came from that same day. So that was exciting, just kind of like switching up the pace or the process a little bit, and getting such like a nice result, which I guess goes to show that you should never get too stuck in your ways. Because I like to think I know how to write a song, but every now and then I still got to switch it up.
And of course, how you spoke about earlier about, uplifting Black artists. Do you think that, there should be more Black artists in, like, say, like, the dance pop space, or more of like, say, artists who also blend R&B with, I guess, like, electronic, like, and pop?
I think that there are plenty. I think that there are so many. I think they just need the platform. I think that they need the recognition. I think that they need to be given as much of a chance and an opportunity. I think it starts with us. I think, and I'm definitely noticing a shift in people wanting to be like, no, 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 do not box them in. They're not that. They are what they say they are. They are what they want to be labeled as, or anything of that. And I'm really excited about that. I'm excited that there's an urgency from music listeners and audiences to allow Black creators and musicians to be anything, and not just a monolith, as we are so frequently regarded in this industry. So yeah, I especially opportunity and chances, because I do think that more opportunity and chances are given to others, and I don't know why that is, but I think as quickly as we get that same spotlight, people will recognize that greatness there. We just need the platform.
And if you could describe yourself as an artist in one word, what would that word be and why?
Audacious, because I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna take it like I deserve it, because I believe that I do. And that is definitely the message of the album, and a lot of the songs before the album is I speak like I am supposed to be here, because I believe that I am, and I believe that everybody is going to catch up to that thought.
Kind of getting back into, of course, your music journey, I did also wanted to ask, you talk about, of course, like songwriting and everything, but have you learned, I guess, a little bit more about yourself along the way? Like, have you learned a bit more things, like, when it comes to songwriting, like maybe saying like how to really make a chorus or a verse,
Right.
like things like that?
Yeah, I think I've really learned a lot about how to insert my own voice into, I think, like a universal experience. I think that's something that just comes with lots of time spent writing. For me in particular, I think it definitely helps that I spent a lot of time writing for other people, helping shape other people's stories and other people's narratives. And I learned like how other people would say things, what other people do, what I wouldn't do, what there's enough of, what's missing, and that really helps me like frame my own narrative. Like, a million people have written songs about this particular emotion. How would I say it? How is it specific to me? It's been really fun kind of figuring that out as an artist, and just like kind of shaping my own narrative, my own phrases. What is after body? Like my own unique spin on things has been a really fun, almost challenge to songwriting, that I think is really important. I think it's really important for everybody to have their own point of view. And it's nice to have a style that people can recognize, even if they don't hear you. I believe that people could read my lyrics on a paper and be like, that seems like some shit Jae Stephens would write.
And I guess, let's say two more questions. Um, let's also talk about another project, Sellout. I am curious, like it's related to Sellout. There's like a connection between both, or
Sellout was the first EP of 6 songs, and then there was Sellout 2, which was another 6 songs, and then Total Sellout was those 12 plus 4 new ones. So it was just like all grouped into one. That really encapsulates the sellout journey. Um, Frankly, after the first sellout, I wasn't really ready to let it go. I just wanted to keep growing and building, and I was having a lot of fun finding my footing in the world. And yeah, I think it really came to, like I said, by the time I reached Total Sellout, I felt really confident in it, confident in my sound and what I was bringing to the table, and less timid in it. I think you even hear the music is a bit more minimalist in the beginning, and then it gets really maximal and noisy and dancey towards the end. And I think that is a direct reflection of who I was becoming as an artist, and just like less afraid to try and go all out and have a good time. I think the fact that it's a trilogy is kind of telling the story in itself.
and for our last question, mm, would you have any advice for, of course, like young Black artists, who want to, of course, enter into like the music industry, who want to create pop music or any type of genre, what type of advice would you give to them?
I would say it's super important to know who you are, know who you're not, because if you don't, everybody will try to tell you. They will try to tell you all day long who you are and what you do and what you don't do and what you're good at and what you're bad at and yada yada. And it's so important to know those things for yourself, because I do think that we as Black women, just in general, but especially in the music industry, are constantly being told what our limits are and what we're good at and what we're allowed to do and where we're allowed to go and who we're allowed to be. And I think the only way to cut through that noise is to decide that for yourself. And that is the only way that you will make anything that you're ever happy with. And that is how your audience will find you, of people who naturally gravitate towards the message that you have, and the standard that you've set for yourself and the confidence that you walk in yourself. I do believe that's why Sellout has resonated with people, because I it has a sense of like, you're not going to tell me anything. And I think a lot of people really want to feel that more, even if they don't always believe it. So yeah, that's what I would definitely say to an audience: know yourself, know your worth, know your line, know your yeses and your nos. um, Very important.
And of course, just I guess one more.
Yeah.
Speaking how you said you're, from Dallas, but then now you're in LA. How was that like, transition? Like, is the music scene from Dallas like very much different, when it comes to LA?
I'm not 100% sure, because I was born in Dallas, but I've lived in LA since I was like 6. So I've grown up here. But I definitely think that a lot of my just like upbringing and musical influences definitely come from like a southern place. You know, my parents, born and raised Dallas, Texas, whole extended family is still there. And I grew up singing in church, grew up listening to lots of gospel, lots of R&B music. And I think I find ways to bring that into my writing and into the way that I even like stack harmonies and the way that I layer vocals. I think has like a very, like a grounding in just like the music that I grew up listening to and what was placed in front of me, and the divas and the legends of yesteryear. I think definitely comes from that kind of southern place. And then my mother Beyonce is obviously like down the street in Houston, so that's like the family resemblance. Um, so yeah, I definitely feel tied to like Texas in that way. That just like I have like such a respect for like southern music and the roots, and just like how the music is bred down there. So I always try to like weave that into the way that I write a little bit.
And I guess, is there anything else you'd like to add?
stream Attaboy. And my album comes out later this year. But that's it, I guess. But thank you for chatting with me.
Of course, no, thank you. Like, I love how I just see like in your music, you just have a lot of important messages, and it's just like at the end of the day, you tell people just to stay authentic and just to be themselves. So I do applaud you for everything that you've been doing, and congratulations.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with me.
Of course, yes.
Thank you so much.
Of course. Have a good day.